Are you freaking out because Windows 7 is no longer going to be supported? Well, today I'm going to set your mind at ease about the whole thing. Welcome back to Pushing Technology to the Limit. If you're worried about your computer, don't. I'm going to be talking about Windows 7 and XP and my experiences with using a really old operating system. I would not be too concerned about 7 just yet. I'm still using Windows XP on pretty much a lot of equipment. I'm using 7. What to expect once it gets really old? And what has it been? Since 2010, since 7 came out, maybe a little earlier than that, but 2010 was the first time I bought Windows 7. I put Windows XP back on it and used it for a number of years that way. Still use XP on that same system. The one thing that I've found with it being so old now in 2020 is that a lot of stuff like free software you might like to try or you want to use, or like games or stuff like that, just don't work on Windows XP anymore. But it just didn't automatically happen overnight with the obsolescence of XP. Yes, they stopped supporting the operating system and I'll go back in time. I don't remember when they actually started switching over to Windows Vista, but they put a virus on my computer to force me to buy Windows Vista. Well, I went kind of spazzo because I had a lot of equipment with XP on it, and I was like, I'm not ready to switch just yet. So I found that whole thing out by reloading one of my computers, and I found out all of my computers had that same problem because I was doing Windows Update. So if you have been doing Windows updates, you might have a little bit of a virus to try to force you into buying the next Windows operating system. So anyways, one thing that I've found with XP is that there's software I can still get for it, but I gotta pay, for the professional software. Now, sometime in the future, I'm going to be doing a video talking about home versus professional, software and equipment, because there's really a lot to do with how the software functions, how reliable it is versus the home software. And I've been buying professional software forever because I just want the reliability. I don't want the uselessness of home. And that I stopped using Windows XP Home Edition a long time ago. So I've been mainly making this video because I've had some people concerned about their Windows 7 computer. So if you're like, well, what happens when Windows Update no longer, is supported? When I can't update my Windows 7, not too much. I've had my typical problems with, a Windows system, whether it was XP, 7, what have you. It's just Windows. It's just the life of Windows. But people are believing the fact that you can get hacked without Windows updates being applied to your computer. My professional thoughts and feelings about the whole thing is that the updates are mainly just to get you to feel uncomfortable that you're naked. You're going to be more vulnerable on the internet than if you don't have the updates than with the updates. Honestly, I'm like, you gotta be nuts to believe that. And I don't believe that anybody is crazy, but we're just duped into feeling that we're unsecure without the Windows updates. I have not updated my computer forever, and I don't really see any difference. I mean, you're on the internet. What do you expect? You're going to have some issues. The internet is unsafe to start with. If if you're feeling unsecure on the internet, then get off it. I know a lot of times you really can't because a lot of things are done by the internet now. But just quit feeling like you're totally going to be exposed. I mean, you kind of are because you put your stuff out there on the internet. I know I'm really kind of off track on the whole thing, but let me try to get back on track to Windows 7 here. Because that's mainly what I've done the video for, was to help you folks on about Windows 7 and what to expect. So let me give you a list of things that to expect with Windows 7. So 1, the updates aren't going to be around anymore. 2, it's going to be a little bit more tricky to activate Windows 7 if you have to reload 7 on your machine. The online activation center won't function anymore like it used to, so you either have to telephone it in. Now, if you have a Dell computer, you have no problems, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Software won't be supported. So, like whatever browser you want to use, like if you like Firefox or what have you, Chrome. Eventually, those things will come to a screeching halt to where you won't be able to use it on the internet anymore. The Flash player. Now, I'm talking a little bit advanced here for some users. Some are going to understand what I'm talking about. Some are still going to be questioning, what is all this stuff I'm talking about? Well, in a Windows system, whether you have XP, Vista, 7, there's a Flash player. And what that basically is that's what YouTube uses, and some things on Facebook and a lot of e-commerce sites, which are stores like eBay, Amazon, and different things like that. They use that Flash player. And if that can't be updated, then you're kind of stuck because you can't view some of the things that they have on their website. So this is not going to happen overnight. This is going to be over time. And I've still used my XP on the internet. Yes, there are some things I can't do with it, but there's a lot of things I can do with it, and I continue to use it on the internet. So some of the times that I've, reasons why I bought some of the 7 computers is because I wanted to do something different on the internet that my XP was not able to do anymore. So eventually 7 is going to end up just like my XP machine, where the browsers are going to stop. I've gotten other comments and questions and concerns about this stuff on YouTube, and I'm trying to help people out here. And one person said to me, well, my Windows 7 is going slower than it used to. Well, if I go back in time to Windows XP again, they did the same thing to me, and I just talked to you about that a little bit ago, and that they basically put a virus on my machine to force me to buy the next operating system. So how do you fix that? How do you get yourself out of that bind? Well, the only way that I've found that out is just reinstalling Windows on your computer. And yes, it's going to, today, you don't really need to know an awful lot about restoring your computer. You don't need to know the ins and outs like you used to. The old days with XP, you had to know a lot of stuff about booting and order and all this other jazz. But nowadays with Windows 7 and even, I'm not sure about Vista because I never really used Vista, but 7, 8, and 10, they all come with their own built-in restore function, so you can reload Windows. Now, if your hard drive is going bad, this function will not work. You'll have to get a disk. You can get a disk on Amazon and eBay, and I would look for what version of Windows you have, whether it's Home Basic, Home Premium, Professional, or Ultimate. Now, to me, I don't really understand what all the versions of Windows 7 or like 8 and 10 are. It's utterly ridiculous. I've had Windows Professional forever, and I have had no issues with Professional on XP. I've used Windows 7 Professional. Same thing. I don't see any difference between the anything else except that the Basic and Premium I wouldn't ever use, and I've tried them, didn't like it. So if your computer's still going slow, now this is going to be a little bit more advanced for some folks. They're going to be like, well, what are you talking about? But there's some folks that will be watching this video that know how to do this. So if you don't know how to do this, don't worry. There's other people that would be able to help you figure this out. And it's also going to be dependent on how much money you want to put into it. If you want to restore your entire computer, or if you want to buy a new one. But if you have a special like about the computer, like I've got a like about everything, and I got some dislikes about some computers. So I got a bunch of different things that I have likes and dislikes on, and I use them for certain things that I like it for. But anyways, if you have that kind of notion, it's like, well, I just like the way the computer works. I mean, it's easy, I know it. I would put the money into it. So if you've already reloaded your operating system and you're saying, well, my computer's still running slow, there's something dying in your system. Now, like I said, this is going to be a little bit more advanced for some folks that don't understand about the internal workings of a computer. So you can either fast forward this or just ignore it and try to find something that's a little bit more useful around this video. But the first thing I would try to do, and you basically just got to replace it. I mean, there's nothing else you can really do. When I say fix, I mean you just can't get in there and play with a part and tweak it. You got to replace it. It's like a doctor. You got to do surgery on it. So first thing I would look at is your hard drive. Now, if you're using the solid state hard drives, there's no way of telling what's going on with that drive. I mean, it could be about anything. The only way that you're going to be able to tell whether it's the hard drive or not is by replacing it. But if you have the standard mechanical hard drives where there's a motor and a pallet in it, if you wonder what a pallet is, it's the metal disc that's inside your hard drive that writes all the data to it, that has your operating system and all your saved files. So in that hard drive, depending on which one you've got, whether you've got a Western Digital or other brands of those ones that have motors, I find with Western Digital, because that's all I buy, it has like when the hard drive's going bad, it'll have like a funny noise in it, like it goes tick 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 tick. I mean, it just differs on how the hard drive is failing. I've had the hard drive where it would sounded like something spinning up and shutting down, so it just go ring ting, swing ting, and I'm like, well, what's going on with that? Well, it was the hard drive failing, and then eventually one day it was running, and it just died while I was doing something, and it totally didn't work anymore until I replaced it. So I would try the hard drive, and the next thing I would try, if that didn't fix your problem, now each time that you replace a part, you're going to have to reinstall Windows. Now if you're going to say, well, that's kind of a pain in the neck, I mean, yes, you could replace all of your parts if you want to at once and then just get it done with. I don't really recommend that because there's some things you don't need to replace, but like if you have a hard drive problem, you're going to have to reload Windows. If you have a CD and DVD problem, you're going to have to reload Windows because somehow, and I don't know what it is, but with those particular parts like CD and DVD, they cause problems. And I found that the burners, like the CD and DVD burners, cause the worst problems and fail the quickest out of any other equipment I've ever had on a computer. Like if it's just a CD-ROM or a DVD-ROM, I've never really had as much failures with those as a burner. So when you replace those, reinstall Windows 7. Or for any Windows for that matter. I'm not just talking about 7 here. It could be anything. So if you're like, well, that still didn't fix the problem, I would check your power supply and replace that. Because what does the power supply do? It gives your computer power. And if the power supply has somewheres low voltage on one or multiple things, then your computer's not going to function right. Your power supply is like the heart in your body. If your heart is not providing you enough blood and is not pumping good enough, then it will give you bad health. It will cause other issues. You could even die from having a bad heart. So if a doctor were to replace your heart or find out what was wrong inside your heart, like a valve or some sort, he could replace that valve and get your heart working again, working better, and then your system, your body, yourself will be starting to feel better, and you would be able to go as business as usual. That's basically what the computer's like. Your power supply is the heart of your computer. Now, there's no one way to say what part in your computer is the heart of the computer. I mean, it's like a body. If you're missing your arm, other things just don't work right. And it's kind of like the same way. Without a hard drive, your computer doesn't boot up all. It may come on, but your operating system isn't going to load. If your RAM is bad, you're going to have system crashes, and even some blackouts, or some the blue screen of death would happen. If you replace your RAM, then your operating system will run better, and the software will run smoother. And a lot of times when you do like a RAM upgrade, even just an upgrade, or just replacing RAM that is bad, you don't have to reload Windows. That's one thing I've found in a computer you never have to do. And maybe I might be wrong in the future, but so far I've never had to reload a Windows system because of a RAM failure. But everything else, even a power supply failure, I've had to reload Windows. And once you get those things fixed, then your computer will run better. But if you're one of those that want to get the latest thing, then get the latest thing. Don't worry about your Windows 7 going out of style because you're going to get something better. Well, at least they think it's better. I beg to differ. I beg to differ that newer is better. I have heard a lot of horrible things about Windows 10. I'm not going to go into that, but these are some of the things that you need to look at doing when you're kind of wondering what's going on with my computer. Is it just a bug? I mean, it could be. It could just be a virus or some piece of software that you installed thinking, oh, this is really wonderful. Could be causing an issue in your computer. The other thing I would do is I'd get some backup software and back up your computer regularly. And I mean, not just your data, but your actual operating system, and move the copy off your computer to either external hard drive, flash stick. I've used Acronis for years, but now I'm backing away from that because I've found that they're just kind of like Microsoft, where they're just money-grubbing little buzzards. And they used to be able to install the Acronis TrueImage Home on multiple computers. Well, when I got my new software, I could only install it on one. Well, back in my other versions that I've had, like 2009, 2012, I could install it on multiple computers without having to activate it online. So they're kind of turning into like a Microsoft corporation. There's other backup software out there that would do just fine. I have found a piece of software. I'll have to sometime make a video about it. It's free, and I was surprised that it was actually a good piece of software. There are some things that you can buy on it, but for the majority, the free version works. And I've had no problems with restoring my Windows 7 computer or my Windows XP computer for that matter with it. And it doesn't give you all those annoying update signs, gotta update now, update now. I'm like, no, I don't want to update. So I hope that sets your mind at ease about what could be going on with your Windows 7 computer. It could just be an update because Microsoft wants your money. It could be a virus on, yeah, they could give you a virus, but I'm also saying you could have a virus someplace on the internet or software. And a lot of times with fixing that, it's just like I said, reinstalling Windows, and then you're on your way. So I hope that all kind of clears up your mind about some things. If you have any questions, comments, or just need a little help on something, please leave me a comment, and I'm here to help. I'm not leaving you just dangling on a string waiting for me to reply to you. I'll reply to you. I can just tell you that the videos that I put up are kind of slow because I've got a lot of things going on here, so just bear with me. I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. But other than that, you have a great day and enjoy your Windows 7. And I'll see you the next time on Pushing Technology to the Limit.